Greetings, and welcome back to Dungeon of the Endless. We're on floor 6 right now, and that means we're actually halfway through. The final floor is floor 12, so we're getting there. It's pretty good. We're making our way. So, what to say, really? Getting into some more, I guess, natural-looking areas, some more cavernous biomes. The interesting thing about the game, and you may have noticed this with the different load screen art, you actually get different monsters that spawn in depending on, I guess, what biome you're in. I don't know how expansive that gets, whether you can get all the enemies from previous floors plus certain other enemies that are unique to, the different biomes, but basically the idea is that, as you progress forward, obviously you're likely gonna see higher powered versions of previous enemies, but you'll also start seeing more unique enemies, and, floor 6, I mean, everything up to floor 6 kind of slowly introduces that, but I would say that, getting up towards floor 7, 8, 9, you start running into some really nasty stuff. Actually, I don't remember if we encounter what I'm talking about specifically on this floor, but there are enemies that behave in a very detrimental way based on the mechanics of the game. They're called Hurna Riders, and I won't say what they do yet, but I'll just say that they're nasty and leave it at that. At least until we see one. You'll get the idea of what they do as soon as they come on screen. The game makes a very good point of letting you know that their intentions are quite nasty. Anyways, we met Opbot back there, and got a merchant up here, so I'm just sort of filling out this area since we've got a choke point now with the double tear gas and neuro stun. That's personally, that's one of my favorite strategies. Like I said, we're going to be using the pepper spray a lot. But right here I went with kind of a more traditional strategy that I found has worked for me a lot in the past. Just because having two tear gases really does ramp up the passive damage that enemies get going through the room. Again, with Silic Zoners, it's still going to cause a problem if any of your stuff ends up breaking. If you don't have the neuro stuns, the enemies are going to get a lot faster passing through the room, which means less passive damage for them. But yeah, it's a pretty good setup, I'd say. Not foolproof, but good setup. Anyways, Opbot. Opbot's pretty neat. He's actually one of the characters who, one of the very few, I don't think there's actually really any other characters that make it through, I guess, the continuity of the Endless series like he does. But, being that he's automated, he's a robot, he doesn't really have to worry about the lifespan that most other characters probably do. But he actually is I don't know how major of a character, but a decently major character in Endless Space, I believe. I don't know if he has a role in Endless Legend, but if he did, I feel like he would be probably part of the Falters. And right there we just started research on the Neuro Stun module rank 4, so that'll be good whenever we get that. Next couple door openings. Just have to hope we don't run into any bulldozers, because then they'll destroy the science machine, and I think I explained before, if you lose a science machine, if it gets destroyed by anything, all the points that you put into whatever you're researching on it are just gone. And that's the thing, too, is that they will only, bulldozers will only attack the science machine, or the science artifact, I guess, when you start researching something. If they're just kind of sitting there, it's not a big deal, but... And what I was saying before about the Hurna Riders, that icon over there, that shows that there's a Hurna Rider who is targeting that location. So here he is right here. He's riding sort of a rhinoceros-type creature. If that thing gets to that door, it'll start busting it, and if it does enough damage to the door, it will actually open the door, which can prompt all the same effects of you as the player opening a door. So right there, he did not have nearly enough advantage to open the door. So we managed to snuff him out before he could even get close. But yeah, you do actually get resources. So it's basically as though a turn passes if he does break the door open. You do get, your resources. I think you even get a chance to get dust, and whatever's in the room will, still occur there. But, it also comes along with all of the risks, which includes more enemies spawning into the dungeon. And in the very worst case scenarios, which has happened to me in the past, you can have Hurna Riders that break open a door, which spawns more Hurna Riders, who then break open more doors, and it just becomes this horrible chain reaction where you have infinite hordes, like, just the whole dungeon worth of hordes coming at you, and since you don't really have time to light each room as they do that, you end up getting a lot more enemies you would get otherwise if you were kind of pacing yourself patiently as you would normally want to. So that can be some really nasty business. The Hurna Riders are definitely something to look out for. You don't want to let them get the slip on you. But we've got Neurostun and Tear Gas 4 now, along with our Pepper Spray 4, which is quite nice. Basically our best, most reliable modules are now as good as they can be. So really, we could almost just kind of let that lay there and it'll do its job on its own, I suppose. I should think anyways. Alright, here I move Kenshaw over to the other side of the dungeon, just so that we have an extra person, an extra set of hands in case we really need the backup. Fortunately, though, we really don't. And I used to always think that icon appearing meant that there was something behind the door actually attacking. Right here I opened 2 doors at once. Don't know if that's the best decision, but I'm getting a little cocky. If you couldn't tell, now that we've got a nice setup going, I'm kinda rushing through, doing as much research as I can. I think the reason I actually did that was because we had something researching over there, we had the shop being researched, and I didn't want to, for any reason, lose it. But, that does spawn a lot of Silix owners, and so could end up being not so great for us. Yeah, we're gonna have to rebuild all these modules now. But you see there, they ignore the major module in the room. That's the nice thing, is that the zoners only care about minor modules, whereas the bulldozers only care about the major ones. So really, if you understand your enemy, you can kind of understand what you need to watch out for. Of course, they do area of effect damage, so whatever's in the room, they're gonna do a little damage to everything, but if, say, a Silic Bulldozer destroys the major module before your minor modules, he'll spare the minor modules and keep moving to get to the next major one, or your crystal. So that's kind of nice, in its own way. But yeah, Upbot's a cool guy. I like him. He's a decent operator. The one thing is that his attack speed is just torturously slow. Right here I kind of make a mistake and only put 1 Neurostun, so I can have 2 Tear Gas. Honestly, I find that 2 Neurostun, 1 Tear Gas, and 1 Pepper Spray is optimal. The thing, though, is I only ever put 1 Pepper Spray in a room because I'm pretty sure that the Pepper Sprays will attack the same target at once. There is a sort of tier, like a tier list in the game that dictates the behavior of the modules, so depending on what's walking through the room at the moment, the Pepper Spray will focus on a particular enemy first, and that's for any offensive module. They'll always pick a priority target. But, in the case of, and we found Warden right there, in the case of the Pepper Spray, I think it attacks enemies at the same time, so if you have 2 Pepper Sprays in one room, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have them taking turns brainwashing 2 enemies at once. It might just mean that you're brainwashing 1 enemy twice, and then they're moving on to the next one. And right here, unfortunately, that Hurna targeted a door right behind us, or right behind itself where it spawns, so it opened up an extra door. Fortunately, though, no enemies spawned from there. But we did get an EMP, which means our defenses in that section are not going to be in the best of spirits. But it's a good thing we planned ahead for that, and we built some extra modules in this room. So, Warden. We just found Warden right there. Warden is, again, very slow on the attack speed, but he's a very good operator. He has some nice abilities. He has an ability called Armchair General, which pretty much, if he's alone in a room, kind of like the mastermind of things, just doing his own thing. You know, if you can fortify him in like a room that he's just safe in, you can pull Armchair General, and it'll buff everybody else pretty extensively. It'll increase their attack power and all that good stuff. But otherwise, he's just an all-around pretty decent guy for operations. He also has an ability that, while he's in the room, improves the chances of getting dust from enemies, but honestly, I feel like getting dust from enemies isn't all that worthwhile, because you can only ever get 1 point at a time. Right there we got 2 in a row, which that's pretty decent. You know, if you can consistently get dust from enemies doing that, it's nice, but there's not too many super consistent ways to go about getting dust. It usually is very chance-based, so you have to plan ahead for, you know, dust efficiency. Right here we open this up. The cryopod. That's the other thing about cryopods. They can sometimes contain heroes. We just got Chef Nanner, who, again, all 3 of these characters we found on this floor are very slow offensive characters. Nanner is probably the hardest hitting of the 3 of them, but he's also moderately slow, probably the slowest of all of them. And he doesn't really have the operating ability that Opbot and Warden have. He's got, he does have a cool ability that damages all enemies in the entire floor. It's a small amount, but it's sort of a overtime damage like the tear gas. So basically it's a floor-wide tear gas, and it also improves the chances of collecting dust from fallen enemies, like Warden's ability. I forget the name of it, but yeah. So, a lot of neat heroes. I'm just taking the time to explain them in case you guys want to know more about the guys that we're randomly finding here, since we're not actually going to be using them. We're just going to stick with Jolari and Hikensha. So right here we have a pretty nasty group going on. But we're just letting the tear gas take care of it. You might have to deal with those bugs, they might get through. But, like I said before, even if they do get through your defense rooms with tear gas, they end up having so little health that you hit them once and they just pop. And it's the beautiful thing. So we'll fix all these up. And we've opened all the doors in the dungeons, so now all that's left is to light our way to the elevator room. And there you go, we have just enough. So if Jolari going ahead. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, just repairing all these. I think I'm gonna have another bout of you know, hold out, see how long we can survive. So I'm just fixing these up as good as they can be. Though I didn't build an extra neurostun in there. I figure no point in wasting more resources on a floor we're not going to be on that much longer. And we don't get any benefits from this. Speaking of which, though, and since Opbot is here, Opbot does get a passive ability called Recycle. And what Recycle does... I'm just having Jolari do laps around Hikensha while she's carrying the crystal. But what Recycle does is, for every enemy you kill, I think you get 0.2 industry. And what I saw somebody do was they actually placed tear gases and neurostuns at just the right amount that every enemy that got into their elevator room had barely a sliver of health left. On top of that, they placed auto-dock shards in the elevator room so that all of their heroes in there had passive healing going on, healing over time. So they don't have to worry about food to heal their heroes, and using Opbot, they're slowly getting industry from his recycle ability. So, all told, they did this by power leveling him, and I think by floor 2 or 3 they actually had 700 industry, or some ridiculous number like that. Combined with that, some characters have an ability called Soylent Green, which does the same 0.2, but with food instead. So if you had Opbot with 1, and then, say, Scroig has Soylent Green, the Soylent Green ability, you could use those two and just get ridiculous amounts of industry and food to the point where you probably wouldn't ever need any more for the rest of your playthrough. So there's some really clever setups like that that people have done, but that's it for floor 6. We're moving on to floor 7, and thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you all later.